articulating the issues around, in particular, the plight of the black people. You've rightfully started by saying that it is not correct that if you look at poverty, poverty has a black face in Namibia. And whether there are some of us here who are sitting and saying, look at this one, making this a black and white issue, this is a black and white issue, whether we want to admit or not. Like Ricardo alluded to earlier, if you go to the church, who do you find there? It's black people, hopeless black people. If you go to the bars, to the shebeens, who do you find there? What color are the youth there? It's black people. So no one must come here and tell me or anyone else for that matter, this is not about being black or white. It is about being black and white. Going to my point, I think we need to be honest in saying that since independence, there's not been a serious thought, especially from the white minority community, to contribute to the developmental state of our economy. If you look today at the shares of mines, you will see those, maybe on your hand, you can maybe say 1, 2, 3, they are black. But the majority is controlled by white. Look at our financial sector. Everywhere you go, even in positions today, managerial positions, you will see it's dominant. It's not only racist or racialized, it's also sexist. White Afrikaners continue to dominate this. So I think it's about time our white brothers and sisters come to the table in all earnestness, especially now that the issue of land has become mainstream. We cannot allow this thing to continue, because if you have to look at even the spatial design, you go to Kleiner Cooper, look at Kleiner Cooper, who will you find there?
White.
It's white people. You go to Kadatura, so these are all constructs of colonial and apartheid injustices. So no one should come and give us here scarecrow tactics and say, no, if we have to consider restorative justice, we are going to chase away investors. No, investors today are investing in war-torn countries. We are not there yet, but I think we run the risk of getting there unless we challenge this.
Next question.
Thank you. I want to greet the mothers sitting there.
The second mic.
I want to thank you for speaking. My name is Jeremy. I'm also a freedom fighter, and I'm also a Christian.
That's just a reminder for us to keep it brief. Yeah, we're running out of time.
What I want to say is very short and brief.
Thank you, sir.
The issue of land, of resources and inequality is a very serious issue. Even the UN, I told you that the UN have a problem with Namibia and South Africa. The inequality is very high. We can be Christians, but when the people came here, they came with a Bible. They took the land. There was a genocide committed. You already saw those bones that came from Germany. There was a genocide committed. Land was taken away from it. The country became independent. Our fathers, even our citizen Nahas, our former prime minister sitting here, they fought for this independence. But now we need economic freedom. That is why we have the EFF in South Africa. The ANC even listened to the EFF by saying land that was stolen cannot be bought. And in Christian terms, if you steal something, you need to take it back. So this is a thing that we are not talking whether they are productive or not productive. We are talking about, or sanction or what. We are talking about the land that must be dealt. People are living in shacks. Those are human beings created in the image of God. Living in Havana, have no land. Bushmen are living in the farms there. They have no place to even bury a loved one. So that is what we are saying. We are not, maybe the people who are invited is these educated people who are skills. There are poor people here, but they are not even represented here. And our government is maybe relaxed because most of you guys who are educated, you are influencing our government not to deal with this issue. But I will not guarantee you peace. If you don't deal with this issue of land, there will not be peace in Namibia. And let us not play with one another. I have nothing against white people. I have nothing against African or German people. But let us be fair. With justice is very important. And these things of land, cannot be like sugar-coated in the way you are talking there. We are seeing in South Africa, the white people are running away from there. It's because of what? Inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
One last contribution before we have the responses? I think those are just comments, basically, no questions.
Thank you. I think I'm a youngest here. I don't have to talk. My name is Vinamandero Murirwa from Step by Step Knowledge Organization. My question is going to poverty. Madam, we have this food bank in Katutura there. Harambe, we used to call Harambe. This food, madam, I think there is no good control there. This food is going to specific family people. This food, people stealing and selling in Herero Mall or somewhere there. I saw myself. I'm not getting this food. I'm the one who giving this food to the poor people. This food is supposed to go to Axtelan, Havana, somewhere there. But it's going to Katutura. At least those people in Katutura, they are having to eat. But those people in Axtelan, they don't have even the light. I don't know, the ministry, maybe they are familiar with those people, or I don't know, or they are comrades. To Matam, some of us were like a Meherero.
Did you have a question, or is it just a comment that you're making?
Just a comment, comrade.
Okay, just conclude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like a Meherero, where I'm coming from in Aminos, we were not having any business. We did not grow up in business. We grew up in Ongombe. I don't know the things that you are talking about. I don't know anything. If you're talking $5, what is $5 for me? I'm going to drink a beer there and going to sell my cattle again. I don't know any business that you are talking. We need the land. Land to the owner.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. All right, well, that's it for the questions now. I think we'll just have a response from Ms. Dosapani and then move on to the next session.
On the food bank, the gentleman should see me after this just to give those, that sounds like whistleblower information. But also just when the food bank was piloted first here in Windhoek, one of the criteria which was used, you saw me presenting the issue on incomes. So we thought people who earn 400 or less are food poor, which means some of the people who work were included. Because even if you have, let's say you are a cleaner or an admin officer in government, because you are taking care of 5 to 10 people in your household, you will claim that the income you are getting when it's divided among the 10 people goes below the $400. So this is why some of the people who were beneficiaries before were working people. But this has changed. There's been a re-registration this year where we are excluding anybody who has a job so that we only look at the extreme poor. Those are the people who now get the food parcel. So there's a re-registration right now. Food Bank is actually a program for the Ministry for Urban Poor. It's not, it doesn't go to it's urban and peri-urban only. It doesn't go to the rural area. Rural areas is covered by the Office of the Prime Minister through the disaster management where they give food when there's drought. But this particular one, Food Bank, has been for the extreme poor in urban areas. So the first registration, because this was a new program, was piloted and we found it very faulty. So it's busy changing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Just final remarks from you, Ms. Wanja?
I'm glad there is a land conference because it looks like it's definitely a burning issue and we will be able to address all our issues there. I think what is important is to note that we have got different views and different perceptions, and hopefully all of them will be taken into consideration when we have the discussion so that we find the right answer for Namibia. I think that's what is very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause for our speakers, please. Well, once again, just a reminder, I think as Mrs. Wanja said, it's a burning issue. But we also have topics, but specific topics that we're focusing on. So let's also not forget to also ask some questions on those issues. and not exhaust the land question throughout the whole conversation. By the time the conference comes, there's not much to deliberate on. But thank you so much for all the contributions. The next speaker, in terms of the tea time, we've noticed that we're not going to be able to give you those 15 minutes. But for those of you that would like to step out and get a cup of tea and come back inside, or quickly go make that phone call and come back inside, I think you're more than welcome to do that, rather than having an en masse exit and then return back into the hall, where we at the same time as well lose more time. Our next speaker is not new to the human rights dialogue and respecting of rights. Of course, somebody that has been in the mainstream or fighting for human rights in Namibia from the media perspective since before independence, a veteran journalist, and currently the executive chair of the Namibia Media Trust, will focus on respecting rights with a particular focus or specific focus on private property rights, especially in this time where we have all sorts of emotions flaring around issues with regards to property. And I think the most important attachment to that is also the right that goes to that, which is guaranteed in the Constitution. And I think most of the times when we talk about property rights, we also forget that we also have Article 18 that particularly also speaks about administrative rights. And there's also another big obligation in terms of respecting those rights. But to give us more detail and put meat on the bone is Ms. Gwen Lister. Please give her a round of applause.
This needs to be geared towards very short people. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. And good afternoon, everybody. I want to just start off by saying that I stand here and basically ask your forgiveness. I was brought onto this program at the very last minute yesterday, and so I'd normally like to do a lot more justice to a topic than I'm probably going to do today, so I beg for your forgiveness if I don't, but hopefully we can at least inject some good ideas and some discussion points into the conversation around the very important issue of human rights, inequality, and with some reference to the issue of property. It's clear that we live in a very unequal world. And yes, as Benedictus says, in our part of the world, that inequality has color, has a color to it. And it's becoming much more so. Income inequality is a major challenge for the globe, and not least of all at home here in Namibia, where the gap between the haves and the have-nots has widened to a gulf. Some say it's reduced. I don't believe that's the case. I believe it's got wider and wider. And there's no doubt that urgent ways and means need to be speedily found to redress this situation. And so this conference comes at a very opportune time to look at some of those solutions.